Sweet. Let's go.
I think we're live, so I will say welcome back, everybody. Let's confirm that we're live first, but I wouldn't even say welcome back because we got a whole new show today. So there you go. I'm just going to double check. I'm assuming we're live. We are.
Nice.
Yeah, we
So
are.
great to have you guys on here. We've got jew.bacca and Circa.
What's up, gang?
How's it going?
It's good, man. We're just, we're sitting here measuring our manhood pre-stream on our video. My video feed obviously
Not.
looking near homeless today.
Yeah.
No idea why. Circa coming in hot with that spicy HD 5K. So I've been bullied into upping my game here. We're gonna have to see about that because this is pixelated muck. Um, I'm on the same webcam I've been on for 2 years, but it's like you get a guy roll up in his Lambo, and suddenly your new like Civic is just not doing it for you. So
Yeah.
on that note, it's great to have you on your full setup today, Circuit. Last week, the mobile phone thing,
Dude,
you
it
know,
wasn't so hot.
it's my last chance. It was my last chance. And then we've got Chewbacca, who I always just want to make like a Chewy reference, but Chewy just doesn't sound so hot coming out of somebody's mouth in 2023. So I'm going to just stick with Chewbacca. I know you've
hmm
been watching the stream for a long time. How's it feel to be on it?
It's great. Yeah, thanks for having me. Stoked to be here on, such an epic day.
It is a big day. There's a lot of things going on, not the least of which is an Arbitrum airdrop, which has got the whole cryptoverse
Let's go.
captivated. Down only for the first 60 minutes, which I thought was pretty ironic, pretty funny. Just claim and dump, which is your standard airdrop opener. But let's take a look at the chart here. I've got it up just for context while we discuss. I actually hadn't looked at it in the last hour. Um, nothing surprising yet. Are you guys? What do you guys make of this? I mean, it's about $1 seemed right to me.
Yeah, I think the dump's over. I think I think we're going up from here. Uh I I mean it was when it bottomed at like 1.1, it was pretty obvious, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Once you started to see it like flatten out there, it literally didn't do that at all the whole time, except
Yeah,
for at 2.34.
yeah. I mean, come on,
Yeah.
stopped at once. Yeah, I was watching pretty closely, and you just start to see this. You're like, okay, the bulls have arrived. The problem is obviously this is on chain, and on
Yeah.
chain was being quite finicky. I didn't actually try to do anything because all I could see was my buddies like struggling to claim, struggling to trade, struggling to buy, sell, whatever. Um, so I did actually put a lonely bid up on Bybit spot at 121, and then it like dumped to 121.9 and didn't touch me. So I don't think I have any ARB other than my unclaimed airdrop. But
I'm pretty sure Siesta in the pit said I'm going to buy at 60 cents at the Pico bottom.
oh
And then that's when
Nice.
I knew I got to go all in.
yeah, that's the other thing too, right? You start seeing people talk about like, hey, 12% claimed and we've dumped to $1. Like we're going to 10 cents, and you're like, well,
Yep.
he's not getting filled. I better
Yeah.
go long here.
Yep.
I
Let's see
mean, an
what's up.
aggressive target can't blame the man for, shooting for the moon or
Nope.
hell, I guess.
Well, there's no risk in not getting filled if you wait really long. If you just take the lows.
Yeah.
The fear of missing out, of course. Bybit perp finally went live. Been working on some other stuff today, so I didn't actually try to trade it, but I'd love to wait for like a nice little setup. I think this thing likely will have a really nice rally from some level. So what are you guys watching for? I mean, how are you playing it? Did you sell and claim? Did you're waiting to lurk the lows? What are you doing?
Didn't sell, just added. After I kind of saw those signals, people calling for, 10 to 60 cents, I was like, okay, this thing bottomed. I'm just going to add balls long, 5x long on KuCoin at around 125. So Yeah, I'm just holding it pretty much for probably for about a day, depending on price action. Um, my strategy is more based on time than actual price. I was kind of looking at the Blur airdrop as a guide, and that pumped for about 2 days, I think. And so I think I'm pretty safe for about one day, but tomorrow morning I'll probably be looking to exit out if this thing just keeps climbing higher.
All right. So more of like a time sentiment based trade than like, TA, which is, where I'm always looking.
Yep.
It's interesting that the market makers had it pegged so high to start. Do you think that was a marketing gimmick? Is it like intentional? Because I noticed like Bybit and Qcoin, obviously, market makers were set up there. I heard something in the realm of 1.5 million liquidity before any claims actually happened, just so the books could be filled. They all kind of had a start price in this like double digit range. That gives us some interesting TA to look at, obviously, being where, wicks and tails like to get eaten. So are we going to $10 or what?
Yeah, I haven't seen a single quote unquote level respected on this DEX chart the whole time. And I think it'll be a little while before levels are established.
Yeah.
I
would agree. And look, this is the 1 minute, but let's not forget, this is the 4 hour, like the lowest reasonable time frame to find good levels on, the daily, the 4 hour, it's too early. So TA pretty much is useless right now, as far as I'm concerned, unless you're in there low time frame scalping and you can actually, as find levels down there. It's just that when they break, they can just nuke and explode, and then you zoom out and you're like, and there's barely a blip on the 4 hour. You're like, okay, like probably play from the 4 hour, like find out your direction and then execute low time frame. So I think since it's your,
there's just so much selling below where we're at now, and it's starting to turn around, that I just feel like it's going to shift. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like all these people how much of this is people who stole other people's wallets and then just got some free money and they sold? How much of it is people who are like, I'm selling because it's not going to go higher? As soon as it starts ticking up, I feel like there's going to be a frenzy.
Well, yeah. I think there's a ton of eyeballs, and so we're going to get like strong moves either way. I mean, the insta sell makes sense because there's a lot of people who probably got a couple $1,000, and that's a reasonable, that's a couple months pay. That's a month pay. Like, yeah, I'm cashing that in. I don't care.
Yeah.
And now a lot of the groups I'm in, there's just people saying like, hey man, I can't wait for this thing to move because like I'm going to ape the fuck out of it. There's a trade there. And so, yeah, I think some hot acceleration up, down, the volume on exchanges is probably going to be insane for like 4 days at least.
Yeah.
Plus, if you have people that had like 10 to 20 wallets that were eligible, they're probably going to dump half as a hedge right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had one. I got 5,500 ARB tokens. Nothing crazy, but I trade. I mostly just trade out of one wallet. I wasn't trying to like farm it, and I certainly wasn't being aggressive enough, even with the one I had. But I feel pretty good about that. I'm just gonna like wait till I feel like this is stupid. Let it run. Maybe $2. I'd probably be happy with 2, but I don't really need to rush and sell it just yet. Certainly.
I had, I think 6 wallets. It took me forever to get it to claim. Nice, dude. Melt up. Let's go. It took me forever to get it to claim. And I did. That's what I did. I sold half. And then I sold like another half of that and bought back at 1.1 when I saw that sort of bottom shelf forming on the 1 minute, the only time frame that matters.
Every major trend shift starts on the 1 minute.
That's where it starts, dude.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. People are like, it randomly reversed here. It's like, it's not random, friend. You're not looking at the right TF.
Yeah.
But
peep that 10-second chart.
Yeah. And then
since you introduced me to that, I've had to go to my doctor for like benzos and anti-anxiety
I actually don't
drugs.
use the 10-second. That's crazy. But 1 minute, that's perfectly sane. So I took all my USDC I got from selling and moved it over to MEXC, which had perps. I think earliest, and just started opening longs. Got a bunch of, like, I was just like closing at reversals, opening back up once it found a bottom, all the way up to like $1.40 something, and then I opened my mistaken last long at like $1.33, and it's been underwater since. And I'm just waiting to add till we get signs that buyers are really stepping in.
How's the volume over there? MEXC.
24-hour volume is 61 mil.
Oh God. Okay, good. I thought you were gonna say something like 61,000 or something. Like,
61
I
mil,
was laughing.
pretty
Might as well
crazy for that exchange in 2 hours. That's wild.
Yeah, I would expect that. I'm thinking like easily $5 billion in volume on day one across, globally. That might even be understated, or maybe I'm just, like once the perps get going and stuff, and then you got every exchange just trading size as these tokens come into the market. I wouldn't be shocked to get into the billions in the next day or two.
Yeah.
5 in one day might have been a little ambitious. A hyperbole there.
I mean, is this the biggest airdrop to ever occur?
Probably
Depends on how you measure that.
Yeah, it depends. Depends
Sure.
when you sell.
No, but I guess just mean, like the overall liquidity measure.
I think so. I don't. I'm not an airdrop or expert, but I would imagine that this is up there.
Yeah.
In the biggest. It's certainly like the highest, touted one, because optimism was big, I guess, but then because of optimism, this one got a lot more hype and a lot more anticipation and probably a lot more farming. I still, I nailed 1 inch. That was it for me. Like the end of 2020, I had farmed like 25 wallets, sent like $100 to them, bought $100 of something on 1 inch in each wallet. And then months went by and I thought it was toast. I was like, oh man, now I got to go harvest those wallets of all their pennies. And then on Christmas Eve, they dropped it. And it was a classic case of like, hey, honey, it's okay. It's Christmas Eve. We're going to spend the night together. I'm not going to be on crypto at all. And then that news dropped and I was like, honey, I am so sorry, but I need to go farm this. But it was sick, dude. It was like 22K. It was a merry, merry Christmas. They were very sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's my only cool airdrop story. Other than that, a little bit of ARB here. No optimism. I find it a little bit like, I don't know. It's a little uncomfortable, a little cringe when like all these airdrop or threads start coming out now. Like, hey, you miss airdrop on ARB? Don't worry. Here's 20 others. Like there's tons of alpha there. And I think, sure, dive in. I don't know. Maybe that's just my social media.
I mean,
cringe.
that to be fair, ARB was one of those that they mentioned in those kinds of threads.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
know,
For
after,
months,
like,
I was really
ENS.
bullish on ARB last August.
For years, since
yeah.
2021, people were like, ARB airdrop any day now. And then they changed the docs.
what-
In their docs, they said, we will not have a token. And then in late 2021, they changed it to be like, maybe token. I don't know.
Our lawyer
I think
said we
Sui
might.
just removed that post. Like, we will not have a
There
token.
you go. Yeah.
So there might be some alpha there.
Which one?
Sui.
A Sui.
Oh,
favorite,
Sui, yeah, SUI.
Aptos. Sui.
The next Aptos.
Yeah, dude.
Exactly.
I'm drinking a really thick smoothie, so excuse my constant exodus
It's all
from
good,
the
dude.
mic.
It's just gross.
It's lunch. Yeah.
It just sounds disgusting, man.
Can you hear it?
No.
Okay. Okay, let's get serious here, guys. This is the pit. We want to talk some of that shit, but we also want to look at the charts, get real. And I think a great place to start is this monstrous weekly candle we had.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, I guess this is my Gann chart. Oops. I should probably switch to something more palatable, like this one. So I don't know what that is. Don't know what that
Nice
is. Okay.
diag, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Just a classic W breakout on the weekly on monster volume. Now the volume was higher here. It's Binance. I heard that they just switched their zero fee trading over to the TUSD pair. Why ever they did that? Either way, it's been getting the majority of the volume for a while now. Because if you're going to buy Bitcoin, why not pay zero fees?
Yeah.
What does this pump, this candle that you're looking at, mean in the context of the megaphone trend lines?
Yeah, the megaphone got really famous there for about a week because we got, it helped people make sense of what had happened. And what you see, what had happened was we did one of these. I'll see if I can dummy one of these up like this. And then you had one of these up here. Whoops. And so, obviously it doesn't fit if you draw it that way. So maybe like that. And so people were looking at this and saying like, it was kind of your, like, help us on Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're our only hope. Like this trend line came in. I actually drew this up, but not as a megaphone, just thinking like, oh, look at that. Lower lows. Like we could bounce here. As the day came, I was, once price got down here, I was like, what TA could I find to support this? But anyways, the megaphone comes. This is actually one that Brian Beamish likes to look at, Mr. TRI himself. So I take it, that's where I think it gets some validity. Like he's like, yeah, it is actually a thing. And it's just the hardest thing to trade, right? Because it's like, oh, we're breaking out. No, we're not. Oh man, we're making new lows. No, we're not. Oh man, we're breaking out. The cool thing is that eventually they do break out. And I think if you ask certain technicians, they would say that that's kind of happening here. So you have this big FU thing that gets you all out of your positions, and then it actually moons, but instead of coming back down and filling you up after you decide you're bullish, it just leaves you behind. That's what the weekly tells me. Cold-Blooded Schiller put out an interesting tweet.
No, he didn't, dude.
Yeah, he did. It was just like an objective look at sort of, I forget his parameters. I'll just go look it up. But I mean,
eventually he's going to be on sides.
What's that? Oh, do you guys? Okay, what's your hot take on him before I get into it? I'm mixed.
He's cool, man. He's a cool guy.
I'm mixed on it. I like some of his analysis. I'll tell you which one I liked. He tweets a lot. Holy shit.
No, the end of this move, he's been on sides, but generally he's been like, bearish at the bottom.
He also has the tendency to post things like, only 3 times in Bitcoin's history has the AO flipped bullish as the price is doing this, and each time it did this. And it's like, dude, that's
that's what I'm bringing up right now. So you shut your hole. But if you look, this is interesting. See, this is what I find interesting. This is not like, hey, copy trade me. This is not a copy trade post. This is just like an objective look at what has happened.
Oh, this is that post.
Yeah, is this the post? This is the one I'm pulling up. Yeah, dude. That's pretty good. Pretty good timing there. So, but this is kind of context for what happens when Bitcoin does have the strong weekly breakout. Now, I don't know what the hell AO is and RSI.
It's an awesome oscillator. It's just
awesome
like a
oscillator. Okay,
better RSI.
Okay, so I don't look at that, but the idea being kind of like, how could we have played this in the past? What would have worked? Would waiting for this pullback that the whole world's waiting for at 24, 25K? Is that a crowded trade? I think it is. I think we probably end there on like whatever kind of dip we get through the, sometime in the year. Like, so anyways, I thought that was an interesting take as far as like in previous times that this has happened, it doesn't really give much back. There's either no pullback or there's a pullback after a very strong continuation. That doesn't mean that the 5th time anything, that could be irrelevant. Could be like, hey, 1 out of 5 times it fucking nukes.
It's just a sample size of 3 though.
4, excuse me.
And it's very specific. Like, it's like this thing happens while this other thing happens. To me, that's like, I don't know, if I were a data scientist, I would be like, I can't accept this as a conclusion because you have 4 samples and they're interspersed throughout 4 years of history or 5 years of history,
Yeah. Well, look, I don't want to get into I like him, you don't. I actually find a lot of his stuff cringe. But for the record, he did not make any conclusions. He was simply pointing it out, saying range 5 is about to tell its story.
I'm just saying things. Who knows?
You're
I'm
making
just
me
saying,
defend somebody that I don't even like that
putting
much, and it's
stuff out
super
there.
uncomfortable. Like I'm sitting over here, suddenly I'm in his fan club. I just wanted to mention
No,
that I
he's
thought that
chill.
was interesting because my take, without having seen that, was that like this is a monster breakout on the weekly. And then I go in the pit, I go all these places, I see this kind of, I gauge sort of the public sentiment, and I just see a lot of like, oh, I'm cutting, I'm short, I'm waiting for the dip, disbelief, and that's what you want to see when this happens, because then you think to yourself, oh, it might actually be real this time. It's really hard to fake this. There was like no rejection into the weekly close. In fact, there was a kind of a strong rally. So I love it. My 2 cents is that we're going much higher. That doesn't mean we need to go into new all-time highs in a whole new cycle. And I think a lot of people are trying to fit what they're seeing on the chart into their broader understanding of like, when are we supposed to rally? When does the cycle happen? I don't know. I just know that the trend is up. It's extremely strong, and it just started.
Yeah.
That's an important thing to consider. If you're on the weekly time frame, this trend just started.
Yeah.
So it's the end of a move maybe on some time frames, and people are thinking, if I've been long since down here, I can pay myself here. That's a great idea. Pay yourself. Never hurts. But I've actually shifted some more capital into the market. It's almost like I'm buying here on the hopes that that's the bottom. I'm buying here because I see some strength. And then I'm like, oh, fuck me. It actually is breaking out. And I'm buying some more here. High time frame expectations, though. Not worried about what happens next week.
Can you scroll a little bit so that the last cycle comes into view and we're not over it?
Yeah.
So that to me is scary. You're looking at the previous cycle range,
Yeah.
which is, 29 to like 69.
Yeah.
And for me, when people say this is a breakout, I'm looking at that. I'm looking at the clearly established range there and saying when it gets above that, that's a breakout into a new range. Until then, this is the bear range that we've been in for me.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're at resistance. Let's be 100% clear about that. This is a major resistance level. So me, adding here, I'm not adding because we're at resistance.
Right. And you didn't add right up against resistance either. So
no, I added yesterday on that little dip to like 26.8, 26.7. But the point is, no, there's nothing. Look, this is one of those places where you're like, if this is the local high for a month, 2 months, whatever, even 2 weeks, like it's going to look so obvious. And then everyone's going to be like, I'm so stupid. I bought all this stuff. Listen to RT. And it, but if it breaks through, and then just, whatever, it's also just going to be like
prodigious levels of dunking.
Yes, it's a really tough spot. And that's all of these spots are, supports and resistances are tricky. There's nothing wrong with paying yourself here and just getting the fuck out. Just not going to do it. I think this kind of build up followed by the huge dump we saw through like the start of the USDC banking crisis shit, and then to just like moon out of there. I don't think that's a stop run. I don't see it to me as like the end of a move as much as, anyways, the start of a broader move, like a multi-month move. That's my 2 cents. That's my thesis, and I'm sticking to it. Now, where's my invalidation? It's like there's not a good one on the weekly.
I think your invalidation is in the bull market, back out of the bull market range. So if it breaks there and then it deviates, get out. I would myself.
I mean, I'd certainly feel less bullish. And this is probably where you should think about adding, right? Where's RT going to capitulate his bag? Okay, I'll set my bids. But there's a lot of stuff lining up in this kind of area here, not the least of which is my favorite level to trade, which is the higher time frame pump chaser zone here. It's also the bullish throwback. There's also some like volume VPVR levels, whatever. There's some moving averages in there if you look at the hundreds and whatever. So, yeah, I think that's an area where I would be really just waiting for like a slow drip in, some bullish divergence, and then trying to get some lev long in there. That's probably the safer bet here. I'm just not convinced we get it. So I don't want to be like entirely flat.
with how quick we snapped back up, if we revisited those levels, that would cause so much mental illness.
It would be painful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people FOMOing in here. There's a lot of people, freaking out yesterday. I don't think that there's necessarily a reason for us to have to move really hard here. I mean, I don't see any reason why we can't just drive people nuts at this level for a bit
That would be tight.
and then just, keep going.
Can we get our alt season?
Yeah, that's true. As if Bitcoin does pause here, which it should, because it is a major resistance, as you mentioned, there's no, there's no nice way to put it. This is right. This was the bull market lows for the longest time. It was really like, what was it here? FTX, Terra. And so, yeah, I guess I'm going to say you're right about that in the sense that if I was thinking about making a major financial decision in my life, I'd probably want to wait till this range is reclaimed.
It's also like, where's the best risk defined setup and to which direction does it exist? For me, the premium risk defined setup is a short once we start pushing into that resistance. That doesn't mean that it plays out. It just means that it's a lot safer to take the short than it is to take a long here.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Risk defined setup. It's an important concept. As I have twins coming, I have made it my goal to not get too into the mud on like day trading. I've been doing a bit of it lately, but like I'm mentally like headed towards this place where I'm just in longer term, midterm swing trades. I'm not worrying about, so I think that's an important thing to point out, because if I was, looking to sit in a scalp, then like this is probably my favorite setup. Where you just have this like shorting up against the highs here, you risk against that high, maybe even hide it just above 29K. I probably should have that hedge on right now given my exposure, but certainly time frame is important. And you're right, for a risk defined setup, there's an invalidation above. There's not really a good invalidation for quite a bit below.
No,
like we could dip quite a bit and stay bullish.
You go down to 19.8 and still be in a high time frame uptrend.
Yeah, then you'll see me down there coping like, guys, it's just a higher low. I'm not abandoning the ship down there. So that's a good point. And frankly, I have gotten myself into some trouble getting caught up in the excitement. And then somebody's like, dude, you were at high time frame resistance. I'm like, I know, but we're going to break it. So thank you for being here to like sober me up a little bit.
Hey, man.
I'm not going to close my long, but I am going to watch this level. I mean, I'd love to have a hedge on here right up against the high where I'm not risking much, but I get my whole portfolio hedged out. That'd be fun.
Yeah,
but I have a feeling that would get stopped out. For the record, I want to point out that this high probably gets taken before any real lows.
Yeah, I'm not taking on any risk to the short side until we run stops at the highs. So the risk defined setup just keeps inching closer and closer to that range.
Yeah, I mean, so this is the thing. So then, like, it's really hard for me the way I trade. Like, I'm always looking for this lower high so I can risk to that. It's really hard, I think, to like, okay, we're up here, and then I'm just gonna like fire off a short, because where would you set a stop at that point? Risk getting nuked, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would be short, very low time frame weakness. So like I meant to say this last time, but like high time frame setups with low time frame execution, so good, because you can go down to the 5M, go down to the 1M, and look for your scalp opportunities that could develop into a swing. So
this is a perfect example of that.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, pull up one of your levels. We can look at it on Agri and see where it presented in the 5M. And it's probably gave you the perfect trigger right there.
It did. I remember because I longed it and I closed it because I was thinking, oh, I'm just a day trade. I want to go chill. It was Friday night. But it was a Friday morning and I was sitting in our Discord just like right here. And I was like, you know what? This is disgusting. Like this, like overnight, it just kind of dribbled down and some bull divs appeared. And then there was like that, that trend line coming down that everyone was looking at, the broadening wedge. And so I just like, fuck it, I'm just going to risk against here, see if I can get some fills. I got the fills, had a nice little run, round tripped the last bit of it and decided to close it. But But that was like, that's the holy grail of trading, where you get in on a low time frame setup, really tight, so you can take super size, and then find a way to trail it way better than I did. And it turns into this like, why would I close it? It's just trending up, and you can just trail it.
Yeah.
And in fact, if I was trailing that setup, it'd probably be here now.
Yeah.
Probably would have been here. So I don't know if that got stopped out yesterday, but yeah, no, I agree. I had that conversation with my cousin, my co-analyst, Smeety Boop. Shout out if you're watching the stream today. But we had that conversation here. I said, from now on, can we just really drill into this and decide, like, is this my day trade, or is this me trying to catch like a midterm swing? Because obviously this was painful. It was up.
I would say that
little bit
probably at every one of the high time frame levels you bid over the last 2 months, there was a massive liquidation wick that got bought up super quick on the 5M, and you could have used 5M for a trigger. Yamjeet's like confused by my meaning here, but that's what I mean is like, okay, it's pulling into your level. Go to the 5M on Agger and wait for massive liquidations and stop runs. Buy it, and it'll travel so far away from your entry in such a short time frame that it's like super comfy, you know?
Yeah. That, I mean, actually, shout out to you, sir, because I was looking at this yesterday during these liquidations.
Yeah.
And I was waiting, watching. It was actually here. I took my first long, got nuked, and then as it dripped in, I just fired one more. I was like, you know what? It's just so overextended on the short time frames. It's got to bounce, and I didn't want to give up on it after one slug, so I martingaled one time.
Yeah.
And I'm still in like 30% of that long right now. Just kind of
Nice.
figured I'll hold it, but that's it. This shit works. I really like this addition to my tool belt, seeing some of these lower time frame liquidations, because you're right. And then you get that reversal candle, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Probably going to get a 30-minute pump here, a little 30-minute rally.
Yeah.
Once in a while, you get a 2-day rally.
The bad news is that if we get to, 28.9, 29, that's what I'm looking for on the short side. If it invalidates, it's literally just above my level where I picked those liquidations. So it's very tight. And then if we go up, that's fine. I'll look for it at 32, or wherever we stop is where my new range high will be. And I'll treat it as resistance until we clear it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I was thinking about you today as we came up to this high, wondering if you were going to try to like catch a sweep or risk against. I'm a risk against type of guy, and obviously you get a lot of time you get just chopped because like your stop loss hits and that's the high.
Yeah.
But I really struggle with like where to risk to if I'm getting, just say like I'm getting filled up here. Where do I risk to? Like sometimes there's a big round number, like in this case 29,000 or 29, and like you can make sense of it. But those guys that are like, hey man, when this sweeps gets taken, I'm gonna just, and then they kind of arbitrarily stick their stop loss somewhere. I've never found something that works for me like that. It always just feels like, yeah, if you're right, it's perfect. But if you're wrong, it could just be a fucking moo-en, and you just get run over, and it takes back all the gains you made doing that strategy elsewise. So I don't know. We have a request in the pit for I love this picture. I'm going to pull it up. We have a request in the pit for jew.bacca to step up, and some comments that say this is Circa right now. So it's nice to see the pit is getting in on this. Jewy, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I've basically been heavily focused on the Arbitrum ecosystem, Arbitrum Shxtcoins. I've been in and out of Magic, longs and shorts. I use Grail to kind of be a barometer of what is going on in the Arbitrum Shxtcoin space, and so Grail basically did over a 2x from the lows, and that kind of signaled it was time to go heavy on Grail Shxtcoins. But it was really weird. Like this last pump, there was not nearly as much liquidity as the pump in mid-February. So
sorry, real quick, Victor, while we're talking, could you shrink down our screens maybe like 40% just to give us a little more real estate? I am struggling to get this list that he's talking about on here. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so in mid Feb, we could basically buy the local top, or I would say early Feb, buy the local top of any Arbitrum shitcoin, and you can still do a 3x from there.
That's that Yamji
Whereas,
strategy, dude.
yeah, exactly. They keep letting him buy the top. It's
They do.
insane.
And get away with it. He can't keep getting
Yeah.
away with it.
Yeah, you can't keep getting away with it.
Liquid looks
And
good.
it's been pretty interesting. Like this time around, last couple weeks or whatever since they launched, the airdrop news. The pumps haven't really had the same effect except for Grail and a couple others. Like really new low cap shitcoins were popping up. Like Lotto, I know a couple. I miss Lotto, but I know a couple people that banged like a 30x on Lotto, which is obviously like gamble fee stuff.
Let's go see Lotto.
Arc did pretty well until the notorious dumping bandits stepped in.
Holy shit! Look at Lotto.
Oh shit, dude.
What did I miss? What coin was that?
Arc, another gamble
Oh,
fee
yeah.
token, which is obviously a huge narrative right now on Arbitrum.
That's one bag I do have. It looks like I'm getting dumped on.
Yeah, dude.
Which bag?
Arc.
Arc.
Yeah, I've got a bag of this.
Oh man, all right, R.I.P.
Yeah. So, I mean,
RIP,
look,
dude.
it hasn't really done anything since I bought it. It's just been
Yeah.
like consolidating here to the upside.
Yeah, because
Maybe.
your buddy fled to AVAX instead.
Oh
true.
yeah, Messi did. Did he sell his Arc?
He unceremoniously sold his
Oh yeah,
No.
in true Messi
Yeah.
fashion, in and out in one transaction.
yeah. The notorious dumping bandits are
Oh
real.
my
Archie.
god. I am gonna go have a real chat with that
Have a
Have a little
gentleman.
talking to with the which
He was like 92% of the liquidity too, so I guess I'm nuked.
someone in the pit was like,
Yeah.
Are you
he
sure?
he can't dump this bag. There's only 850k liquidity, and I was like, "You're new, dude."
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
we'll see. It's a small bag because I did see the quote unquote cap table on chain, and in fact, that's the exact line that a buddy of mine used. I was like, "Hey, what about Arc?" He's like, "Too many dumping bandits in that coin." I was like,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"No,
Yeah.
we're friends."
yeah, buying Arc means you're gonna have to avoid getting dumped on by Jeebus, Messi, Sisyphus,
Yeah.
Brent, Nanny, Ripto.
Okay. So you guys
Some of the
follow a
most
lot more-
notorious dumping
Oh,
bandits.
see, I don't know any of that stuff. I'm just like head down in the charts and
Well, just like they're
It's just a
known
copy and
for
pasta.
entering in one candle and exiting in one candle.
oh yeah.
And you can
well,
see it.
you kind of have to as well when you have
Yeah,
a
totally.
wallet that everyone's watching. You start trying to average in, and
Sure.
a bunch of monkeys just go like, "Ooh, ah, look, he's buying, I'm
Absolutely,
gonna
yeah.
get-"
There's literally
Yeah.
hawks
Yeah.
watching your wallet, and you have
Yeah.
to go quick.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Um,
cool if you like to have a 10% premium buffer on everything you buy. Like I know that the price will go up 10% when I purchase this, so I will nuke it up 50.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's too
It can be
bad.
great for short-term swing too. If you get in right after,
I
him,
would-
it's
I would
usually
honestly
great
be
for a
surprised if
short-term
he's
swing.
completely out of it, but I'm ignorant to that. I haven't looked at the D.
I don't think he is.
I don't even
Someone
know what his
said that he
wallet is.
wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know for sure.
Somebody nuked it though. The word I heard was that there was a delay on their futures launching, and that is why
Mm.
a lot of people got Wojak and got out. Maybe it's that, or maybe it was this liquidity sweep. Now we're gonna go search for more liquidity.
Yeah.
We'll find
Yeah.
out.
So, what do you guys think in terms of like how money flows through Arbitrum and Arbitrum shitcoins? Like after this type of event, usually it's kind of a sell the news thing, and everything's just gonna.
I think, yeah,
Nuke, and then we're gonna have a boring phase. But I'm not so sure.
I'm
that's
a
gonna happen
Copy
anymore.
sideline or right now on Arbitrum, other than like a little Arc and some other weird one, MGN Mugen. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of like in this sell the news camp. But look, find me a good chart because liquid looks great. Typically,
Mm.
you would think, and I agree with this, that like, okay, Arbitrum, there's apes over there, they're all grinding, and they all just got some free money. Where are they going to put it? They're going to put it right back in Arbitrum, assuming that they sell it, and then and
Yeah.
so like, but here's the big if though is if in anticipation of that narrative, all of these charts just run up hot for the last month, which they kind of did, some of them. I'm thinking about PLS. Where's PLS? This one. This is too bad too, because I actually had a pretty decent bag of this through this reload zone, and at some point I got rid of it. Obviously, well before my own target of the chaos level that it just tagged. But so is this coin ready to moon, or has it already and it's like sell the news, or it's just grossly undervalued at 120 mil? Like, who knows? I think
Plutus is Plutus, Jones DAO. These are all Tetra coins.
Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
I heard he's a dumper. I didn't even see him around.
Actually,
I think I muted
not
him.
too bad a dumper.
No, he's good.
Yeah, he's more likely to just like steel hands that shit. Because he just has so much money that he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I don't know. It's just like Plutus is like a derivative platform, so like you can. It was originally like vaults for DPX, wasn't it? I bought the launch, and so it's based on yield optimizing other tokens, which means that it probably can't get higher than those tokens that it's meant to yield optimize, right? So I don't like platforms like that where the cap is like some other shitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's no way this is going to be more than DopeX, which is like 80 mil market cap. So like
I've heard that it's kind of like a de facto Arbitrum index or like ETF, where you get exposure to a lot of things on Arbitrum just by having PLS. Is that accurate?
I don't know. I think you have to play their vaults.
I know Hamachi's like that.
Yeah,
that's what Hamachi is.
So Hamachi,
literally what Hamachi is. Yeah,
which has been mooning after the unfortunate schmelting accident. OTC gone wrong down here, which I thought was pretty crazy. I mean, I don't know this project. I know, and I follow. Was it Korean Jew trading online? Jew.bacca's homie, and
no, we're not.
No, I knew him from way back in the day. Like, knew is a strong word. Was familiar with, and anyways, this was
I usually troll him in his comments. Actually,
what's that?
I usually troll him on Twitter.
This was the OTC gone wrong. They got scammed by some fake kind of. I don't know the exact nature of how it happened, but it was basically like, the scammer kind of middle parties you, and you think you're talking to your buddy, and they think they're talking to you because they copy paste what each of you says to each other back and forth. It's really crazy. I've seen that go down before. We actually sniffed one out once upon a time where, like, we did, just called my buddy on the phone. I was like, "Yo, is this you right now?" And they're like, "Wait, what?" It's scary though, because it's so very convincing. Clearly, these guys know what they're doing, and they got taken. So, anyways, it bounced back. It's mooning. Looks like it's ready to top out for a bit. What do you think of this one? Should I be setting my reload zone bids or what?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hami, like any of these coins that have just been ripping, I think, for the last week are pretty much contenders in my opinion. This one's on my watch list for sure.
See, I don't find this chart sexy at all. I mean, it looks great. If I had a bag, I'd be like, "Yo, it's pumping."
What do you mean? It goes up a lot. Buy it.
I know.
Yeah, like not right now.
Me as a trader,
buy it right now, dude. You're gonna miss out.
Yeah.
Liquid, on the other hand,
no, but I mean,
Liquid is just chilling down here.
Didn't this start on Phantom?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I just know it's on my short list and it is in my zone. Yeah. No, Liquidy.
Oh no, that's LQTY. Never mind.
Liquid is something else.
No, I think Liquid is great for a short-term buy. Hami is more like a mid-term buy, but I mean, anything that just has like ridiculous price action during a rally, that's kind of like what I look for, is like what's like pumping the hardest off the bottom, like what's bouncing the hardest, and then just be patient with an entry.
Okay.
I made a grip off of Vera. I don't even know what it is. I just
yeah, Vera's a big pit coin for sure. There's a lot of.
What's Vera? Give me the ticker here. Let me look it up.
VERA.
I think isn't it kind of like a GMX?
Vila. Is it Vila?
Oh, Vila.
Oh,
We like
Yeah.
the Vila.
Oh, Vela.
Made a
Yeah,
bunch
Vela.
of dollars off of that, dude.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, this is one I'm proud to say my fund invested in back in the day, DXP.
Nice.
So we have a bag. I have a bag. We've been rolling it, and yeah, it's been doing really well. We're very, very impressed with this thing.
Yeah.
So we are the fan of the Villa, and it looks pretty chill. I mean, aside from like any flattened out chart does, but recovered pretty nicely from the lows last week. It's tough to see where it's headed short term, but it does just look like it's consolidating here. So
Yeah.
let's hope it can catch like a Grail echo.
It's really all eyes on Arbitrum, dude. Like if Arb token starts mooning a little bit, the catch-up trade will be there.
Yeah.
And people will be looking for quote unquote flows, and then it's time to hunt all the Arb tokens that have gotten that significant retrace. But Arb could totally cuck here. Like it could.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be
Cook.
the first airdrop to do so.
When you say cook,
It's-
Cuck.
do you mean go down
You
or
say
go
cuck,
up,
yeah.
sir? No code talk. I need long
Yeah.
or short.
I mean go down. It
Okay,
could
yeah.
cuck.
Yeah,
here.
it's gonna cuck
Oh,
us.
cuck.
We're gonna
Yeah.
I
get
thought you said
cucked.
cook. Like,
We're gonna get
'cause
cucked
I
'cause
always
we're
say
long
like,
AF.
oh, baby, we're cooking with grease now. Like, as in we're
Yeah,
doing
or
well.
let him cook. This is the opposite.
Let him cook. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, look, it should. If people's anticipation is that ARB injection of liquidity or cash or whatever is going to move other coins, like theoretically they have to sell their ARB. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see what kind of like whales, because you also got to think like there's a lot of L2s, EVMs, whatever, but ultimately there should be one that stands out. And so then you're thinking in percentages of Ethereum market cap, which is, if I'm not mistaken, $212 billion. So, and that's actually from yesterday. Let me refresh that. $221 billion today. So if you're thinking like, okay, Arbitrum is way faster, it's better, and it's still essentially Ethereum, maybe it should be 40% of ETH's market cap, which would be like a 4x from here.
Yeah.
That we get into all that kind of speculation, and then if
I
ETH
think
runs,
L2s are the next cycle darling, like L1s were last time. I don't think anyone GAFs about AVAX anymore, or Harmony, or Polygon, or any of these L1s. I think they're toast once L2s provide the full vision of Ethereum, and
I
then it'll
agree.
be all
interesting
L2.
take.
That's what I think.
I don't have an AVAX bag right at this exact minute because it's not outperforming Bitcoin, but I'm a big fan of AVAX, and I'm sad to think that you could be right because it's possible. The thing is, AVAX is not going to go away, right? It's not like like as a foundation, as a
Litecoin is still
company,
here.
they are loaded. Look at that. Look at that. I made ETH go up because it's on support. Actually,
Calling AVAX the Litecoin is just.
I'm actually
Dude, when you hear
Dude, that
AVAX
looks
now, doesn't it
good.
kind of sound like Litecoin now? It kind of sounds like one of those dinos. Like it just feels like it now. It's not going to be
Yeah.
sexy again, I don't think.
Yeah, maybe in a couple of years. Yeah.
Well, their subnets are coming out, but you're right. The liquidity starts on ETH and it has to migrate over, and it migrated over for a while because it was one of the fastest, like nicest kind of side chains, if you will, or places to bridge to. And now if Arbitrum, it's a race, and if Arbitrum steals that liquidity or gains that liquidity, it's going to be really hard for AVAX to incentivize it back. But I think they are cooking in the gaming department, on-chain gaming and all that.
Yeah, I think they'll have partnerships, right?
Oh yeah, and they have a huge war chest. They have a lot of
yeah.
partnerships, a lot of tech, and like I know Spark with a Q is coming out with like a lot of their subnet infrastructure stuff, and they're barely at their test net. So there's still tons of stuff building there. I guess the end game, like right now, it's this hot ball of money. Everyone's like, oh, what's hot? What's hot? We go here, we go there. There's going to be kind of a threshold, I imagine, at some point where you get actual adoption, that thing we all crave to say, where there's just a game running on a thing. Holy shit, look. Now Circa's blurry.
Yeah, what the hell? I look like
Thank you. The producer's just like, bro, I'm gonna pump your tires here, and we're gonna knock Circa down a few pixels. No, now I'm blurry again. Shit. But generally speaking, like wait for one hot dap where it's not just a bunch of crypto bros telling you the narrative of where to bridge your money to make some money. Like it actually just becomes something that drives demand for a token well beyond any speculative reason. That still hasn't really happened anywhere in crypto.
Right.
Correct me if
But
I'm wrong. Maybe it has
I think
happened somewhere.
the main
Ethereum, it happened.
selling point for L1s during the last bull run was that Ethereum block space had run out. So when you need
Yeah.
cheap L1 block space, let's spin up a chain, let's add all the things we have on Ethereum there, and then let's go, and all the pores can celebrate. And like, where's that going to happen next cycle? I mean, because Ethereum block space is going to become expensive yet again, and it's like L2s probably, not L1s this time, because they already have all that infrastructure that you want out of them, but they're cheaper and they have the security guarantees of Ethereum. Not that anyone GAFs about that, but
Yeah, until it breaks, nobody
But-
cares. We'll see.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what if Arbitrum can't handle the volume? Like we have more days like today.
It didn't work very well this morning.
in the next bull.
I said
What's
it didn't
that?
work very well this morning.
Yeah, exactly. So we might have more interest than or more users than even each one of these L2s can really handle. So in that scenario, an AVAX or a Sol still becomes pretty valuable in a bull market.
Yep. I think it's a little short-sighted or perhaps premature to call death on last year's L1s. However, death and boring are two different things. You're basically saying these things are going to stay boring for a while. We'll see if they capture adoption. We'll see if they drive like a hot killer DApp, because it just takes one, right? Theoretically.
Okay, Dollar Tree announces they've got subnets. You want to buy your clothes there now?
I know what you mean. But no. Let's get back to the chart view just to shrink our videos down, because I think every time I look up, they're like pixely as fuck. We got to figure that out.
Just a heads up, guys. I gotta leave in like 20 minutes.
Okay, that's a good time for me too. Actually, I have to do some things today. Look at this ETH chart. I'm just gonna put this up there. I haven't been looking at ETH, as you know. I'm a BTC maxi right now. The Bitcoin ETH chart is mediumly interesting to me right now, but it's not great. But look at just the way I've drawn this line. Doesn't that just make it look like it's sitting on a launch pad?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you drew
We
it
should draw more
good
lines
for that
like this.
purpose.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what this reminds me of. And I'm going to have to go to BNB. And I remember I saw this on BNB. I did not take definitive action because that's just, But look down here. I know this is going to be such a moon boy comparison. But this is what I saw. And this is a very different thing because this was sitting at all-time highs and that. But this is the last time, I remember seeing something like that, where you kind of take a big level and then just chill on top of it for a while. Now, I don't know if that's the way this play out. This was obviously price discovery, totally different scenario. But for what it's worth, that's what that reminded me of. So
No, I think ETH is going to do that, dude.
It could. I'd love it.
When's Shanghai again?
Shanghai?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. When is it?
I don't know, April 6th. There's no date, I don't think. I think it just keeps getting pushed back. But April is the latest I heard for pushback.
I think once you have sharding in place, then the context for next cycle is completely set, which is that you've got sharding, reducing transaction load on Ethereum L1. You've got L2s further reducing it, and then I just see ETH being a liquidity vacuum for the whole space. I think it's going to pull a lot of lick out of, dude, like Near and Aurora and like AVAX. Like once that's in place, it's like, why would you use these things? There's really no good selling point until they have their own unique, take on things like gaming or whatever.
Or their ecosystem DeFi incentive program. Look at
like,
this
you're gonna
though.
get
Here's an
another
interesting
AVAX
view.
rush.
Yeah, I don't know about all this like way left stuff, but if you go back to your summer lows range thesis that you brought up with Bitcoin,
Yeah.
did we just already re-enter and retest that on ETH?
I would say if you want to treat that visit from the Yamjeet rally, which was last summer, if you want.
We gotta get EMG'd on stream. He's just
We
sitting here
have to.
eating,
We have to.
eating it all, and he's not getting his voice heard.
This was the AMG
What
rally.
we really
and it
need is Tuk
ended
Tuk
with-
Driver on stream.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, if you consider that a deviation, then yes. And if you're gonna draw it as like this is your bull market range, this is your bear market range, then yeah, it's kind of hard to draw it any other way. Unless you consider the visit to these current levels in the last bull market as a deviation of that range. And then we could say, okay, well then it's still at resistance. But
I think if you look in the dictionary next to analysis, you get a picture of you describing what you just described.
hey, I don't have analysis paralysis because I will long or short ETH any time of any day if the setup's there. But
Okay, good. Because what you just described to me confused the shit out of me, and it made me feel like I don't want to touch this thing. But
well, like on Bitcoin, right? I'm looking at the bull market lows and I'm saying that's your bull market range. Here, if I want to do that, you're right. We just broke out. If I want to consider the bull market lows of ETH as a deviation of that range, and you move your zone up to the top of the AMG rally, then we're at resistance. So it just depends.
What
on
is
how
the
you want to draw it.
AMG rally, by the way?
It's the summer rally of 2022.
The merge rally, right?
Yes, this one here.
YMG had giga long Lido and ETH well before this rally, and he was
Okay.
euphoric all summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed the context there. Just for the audience too, who's not in the pit yet. By the way, if you want to be in the pit, you can join. The link is in the description.
Do
And
it.
that will allow you in so you can hear about all this spicy banter and know what the hell all these inside jokes mean next time we go live. Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern. Okay, so you're saying that maybe this is the important level for ETH.
Maybe. I
I
mean,
mean, we're gonna hit that. God, looking at this chart, I just wish, like, I almost need to switch back a little bit of my Bitcoin to ETH. I did think about averaging a little in here just in case. I don't need to get it perfect.
you definitely
don't-
picked a weird place on ETH BTC to go all in BTC. I'll say that.
No,
IMO, and I am an idiot, so
no.
don't.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why I did it. We lost this level.
Yeah.
And so when we lost that level, I just thought, okay, I'm going to stick to the thing that didn't just have like a massive weekly breakdown.
Yeah.
So it wasn't ideal. I also already had some Bitcoin, so it wasn't like, hey, sell everything. But on a lower time frame, I got out of this. And then once it closed the weekly there, I was pretty friggin' comfy, just like, and then of course you risk being behind if it turns out to be some kind of like wedge situation, and then it's like, oh, but anyways, I actually got out at like 6-7.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
still
that makes sense.
I'm comfy here, and it's like there's a bearish retest would be my kind of like break even. So if I decide to get back in, but looking at that ETH USD chart, I'm like, damn, that actually looks way better than Bitcoin.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, they both look great. They both, looks good, tastes great. But let's go look. This was kind of like your structural break that just made me feel pretty comfy sitting in Bitcoin for a bit. Also, with all the bank shit and like Bitcoin's thesis is finally getting its day in the sun. And I am still of the opinion that sort of crypto OG Bitcoin whales run this shit. They've just been super dormant for a while. That's maybe cope and conjecture and stupid, but
they've been buying and selling all throughout the bear market. I just did a little deep dive into whale wallets like last week, and there's whales like with 160k Bitcoin who bought before FTX and after, but then sold 25. Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Weird, strange whale behavior.
I don't do any on-chain Bitcoin stuff, although I appreciate when I see it. The one thing that I remember seeing is something about like 67% of all Bitcoin right now has just been held pretty long term. Like it's hitting one of its all-time highs for just hodler, which is typically like where you get the bottom on a pretty high time frame level. So like, it's like this is the bottom year range or whatever. But look, this has been the consolidation range for the better part of 2 years. So I would not be shocked Obviously, if it finally breaks out, I wouldn't be shocked if we just get cucked and stay right in it. It's really tough to call. I'll tell you this. I'm going to keep it simple. When Ethereum shows signs of life, I will start averaging back into it. And technically that has already happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's kind of
With
bussing a
this,
little bit.
yeah, like with this volume, and then you're like, okay, but we kept going lower. There's some bull divs here, and their buyers are stepping in. So if we get a 4-hour W here, I will take, I don't know, a quarter, maybe a third, maybe half of my Bitcoin stack and start getting back in here. Because ultimately I am trading versus USD. So I don't mind being in both. I just, if Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million in 90 days, I need a piece of that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not
100%.
going to. Just to be clear, it's not going to. But I do enjoy that guy's marketing. I thought that was really funny, like really impressive.
What did you think of FOMC, dude? How do you think it lined up with what I was saying last week?
You put me on the spot to try to remember what you said last week. I don't know what you said last week, but I'll tell
I
you
was
this.
saying that Powell's not gonna back down.
Oh yeah, no, I know, and I thought, coming into it last week, I was like, oh, all these bank failures, they're going to have to pause rates. But then once they kind of bailed them out on the weekends, I was like, that's really enabling them now to continue with their hikes. Also, if they pause, it would send a signal that like, holy shit, something's very wrong, which it is. So they definitely don't want to send the signal that it is. So yeah, my 2 cents is it was about as vanilla as it gets. It was like, hey, we're going to raise exactly what you thought, and we're going to say exactly what you think.
I saw many people going into it calling for rate cuts or 25 in dovish language, and I was short and euphoric when he was like, "There's no rate cuts this year. There's not. I don't know where you guys are getting this. We don't have any plans for rate cuts this year." Now, obviously, that could change, but
Yeah, when I saw a bunch of NFT bros on a Twitter space, and the space was called "Why Jerome Powell is Going to Take Us to Valhalla Today,"
yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm
right.
gonna fade this.
Yeah.
Like,
damn, you got to tag
he's
me.
gonna be
You
a
gotta
little bit
tag
more
me next
bearish
time you see
than.
that shit.
Top
It's
signals
good info.
abound, dude.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So that was an easy one, but yeah, just like we're in this really weird schizo, I feel like time frame where, like they've obviously added shit tons of liquidity, but we're still hiking rates, and it's like
It's a fugazi.
Net liquidity
On
is
top of a
we've
fugazi.
bottomed
Fugazi.
on the liquidity cycle. We've bottomed according to a lot of indicators.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's coming in lumpy.
Makes sense.
Where like all the people providing ask and bid liquidity on assets, it doesn't necessarily come to them first, and then they can pad out whatever volatile moves are about to get. So you're just going to get crazy volatility as liquidity comes back in the system.
Yeah.
Does this mean we have to look over at the mini futures?
Megaphone?
When
As
doubt.
we're wrapping up, because I think jew.bacca, you said you got to head out. We'll take a quick look at the boomer market here. Look, speaking of things that look obvious, if this turns out to be, like, hey, we had this downtrend, and on the 4th test of the downtrend, we broke out, and then we came back down and tested the trend line, and then we never touched it again, and we kind of chilled, and then we started rallying. It's going to be the most obvious thing in the world. And so when you guys mix in that TA, or when we mix in that TA with what you guys just described, which is new liquidity, liquidity hitting the lows, blah, 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 that should kind of put a floor in things. Now they're printing money. They're going to propping up banks. It just makes sense to me that this is the local bottom, the higher time frame bottom. But I can't call bottom on it. Technically, this downtrend is intact on the weekly. I think it's broken on lower time frames, but technically it's intact until we break above here, which makes sense because then you get to get away from what Circa hates, which is trend lines. And we can start using this very strong horizontal that, if that level breaks, then it's pretty much, and then the question is like, do we go into a rip face roaring parabolic advance, or is it just more like noise for a couple of years while everything sucks?
Well, I'm really looking for the tail risk, which is that like, just because the liquidity cycle is bottomed does not mean that the worst events of having seen that bottom have yet played out.
Yeah.
And that was certainly true last liquidity cycle. I think it'll be true again. It's usually the case that like something horrible happens as you're ascending back up.
Yep.
And so that's why I'm just like cautious with the all-in bull market mentality right now. And the one way you can monitor that is look at the move index, which monitors bond volatility. If
You are getting
banks,
way out of line here, kid, but I'm going to allow it.
so banks now can post their US treasuries to borrow dollars. That's the rescue that the Fed gave to them.
Mhm.
But you can't, as you know, if your collateral is incredibly volatile, you can't get the full capital efficiency of its value. So banks' ability to borrow will be tamped down by move going up. If we get very volatile on bonds, banks will have to post collateral on their loans, and that's where your tail risk comes in. Is that banks could fail in a completely novel and more exciting way, where they just literally cannot get the capital efficiency of their holdings, and it can't meet deposits.
So would you say that I've illustrated your point
Yeah, very
here
much.
on the chart?
Yeah.
Move up bad for risk, move down or sideways good.
Yeah, your tail risk exists all in the upper quadrant of that chart.
Okay, interesting.
So it should be fun.
Someone get me back to shitcoins. We ain't nuts. we ain't in Kansas anymore. That was uncomfortable for me, but
basically we're not out of the woods yet.
I like to learn new things, so I'm rolling with you here. But that's the peak for me today for trying new shit.
All right. Okay.
But no, I appreciate that. And actually, if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, join the pit. Be sure to ask Circa, because you actually pay attention to this stuff a lot more than I do. I'm not just trolling it. You clearly read up on this shit. But another guy who speaks in tongues that are so foreign to me, I can't even unravel half of them. But he's a very smart and genuine guy. Is Captain Rational.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys, he watches this shit like
Cap
all
Rash,
day.
what up?
Probably one of his top 3 tweets here will be something about the move contract. So that's the only other guy who I've known like that talks about that shit. So I just wanted to give him a shout because he's a really good dude and he's super smart. As are you, which is why we've invited you back a second week.
Cap Rash, please clarify for me what I messed up.
yeah, he'll be in here and be like, well, no, he'd have a pretty good explanation that I would have to get like Chat GPT to help me decipher. But no, he's a smart dude. And anyways, I just wanted to give him a quick shout because he also talks about this stuff. So as I cut you short, I want to make sure we extend the learning through direct one-to-one interviews with you in the pit and some Captain Rational live streams. Guys, on behalf of jew.bacca, I'd like to say we've got to go. I'm going to hang that one on you today. No, I'm just kidding. I got to go too. But it's been great to have you guys in. And this can be our new thing. We can just chill in the pit. We can try to get Yamjeet in here. I think that would be a funny add-in since we talked about him half the stream.
Yeah.
But really, any of you guys watching from the pit, if you feel like you have something to offer and you want to just join the conversation and you want to get live with us, probably best that you're really willing to dox. It makes for better TV than just being like a cartoon, but we can look at that. Just tag Coach Popovic or myself in the pit, and we can make it happen.
Let's go.
Sweet. Thanks.